You start a baseball season, Parker, and you never quite know what you're going to get. I know you were coming into this season hyped about what the Red Sox could do. You were also hyped about Tony Vitello taking over as the
Yeah.
manager for the Giants. And both of those things, Parker, not looking great in the first couple weeks.
Yeah, no, neither of those things look very good. The Red Sox are 4-8, and at the time of recording, the Giants are 5-8. So neither of those teams off to great starts. The Giants got swept in their opening series. It took Tony Vitello about like 2 series to get his first managerial win. Ironically, as we record this, we may have never felt better about the Red Sox this season. They did just take 2 games out of 3 from the Brewers, but they were missing Churio and Terangs day to day with some
Yeah.
nagging stuff. So like, was that the full strength Brewers? Hey, games count. But definitely the Red Sox and Giants have severely underperformed, and there's a couple other teams throughout baseball. Teams like I don't know, the Tigers are 4-9.
Mm.
So there's reason for concern in a few different places that we did not think we would be looking to start off the season.
Well, we talked about it last week, right? It came up. You mentioned you can't win the division in April, but you could lose it. And we're looking
Yeah.
at 3 teams that you just mentioned here that could have lost it. And I don't mean to be so doom and gloom, but let's take a step back and let's talk about kind of each of these teams one at a time because there's a lot going on that has broader implications for not only this year's performance, but particularly the leadership on these teams, the managers, right? And I want to start with your Red Sox and Alex Cora, because you went on a tirade
Yeah.
last week about Alex and what he has meant to this team and what he's currently doing to this team now from your side of the house and how you're viewing this. But I know you said that they've had a good series against the Brewers here over the last couple of days. Understood. However, is this redemption? Like, is this the turnaround, or is this a lightning in a bottle here that they've caught?
I think that something to point out is the fact that every single team that the Red Sox have faced up to this point in the year was a playoff team last year.
Yeah,
That's not nothing. I don't think that you can just throw that out the window. You do need to beat those teams too, but there's a lot of wild card teams that really only beat bad teams throughout a whole baseball season. They only beat the bad ones, and all the teams that are over 500 and or playoff teams, they don't do too well against. And as much as I don't want that to be the Red Sox season, it seems like what this roster might be built for. So in that sense, they kind of have performed exactly the way that they were looking at. Now, you asked me about the managers, and that was one thing that I wanted to highlight with the Red Sox and the Brewers. Brewers in town in Fenway. There is a insane thing going on in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. This Brewers team is what other teams think they're building or trying to build every single year in the offseason. Because what are the Brewers at their core? They are an analytically driven roster construction with an old school baseball for the sake of baseball hard-nosed manager. And there's a reason Pat Murphy has won manager of the year for the last 2 years in a row. And it's because he's taken a roster and these are not nobodies, right? But there is
yeah.
nobody on this roster, including pitching, where you're like, wow, not that guy. Wow, really, really not looking forward to that guy hitting against my team. Or like, with a runner on second, I don't know there's a single person in the Brewers lineup that I would be more scared of than the guy before them of hitting. Maybe Yelich, maybe, but at this point in his career, not really. So what I'm getting at is this team is a bunch of solid players that are all able
Mhm.
to bunt, that are all able to get the ball in the air and get a sacrifice fly, steal a bag or two. Every single one of these guys is capable of playing small ball and playing baseball in a much more traditional way than we typically see it played these days, all under the watchful eyes of Pat Murphy. And I think that's incredibly valuable. I think that a guy like that who can take what is probably a lot of noise and a lot of influence from the front office and the way that the roster is constructed and is still able to parse it down into, I'm going to let this guy bunt here. I'm not going to pinch hit for him because I want him to come up again later. Or
Yeah.
I do have a runner on first and I do want to sacrifice them over because even though it says I'm giving up an out analytically and that's like always a bad thing or whatever, This is what the right thing is to do in this moment. And
Yeah.
when you look at the way that the Red Sox have been managed in the last few years, and I love Alex Cora, man. Like I said, there is not a candidate that would come through that door. And if Alex Cora got fired today, there isn't a candidate out there right now that I really want more than him. I really like him. But Theo Epstein famously said when he was on the outs in 2011 from the Red Sox, he famously said that every single person in this game has a ticking clock. And
Mhm.
sometimes you just you move on from an organization. Even if the
Yeah.
organization's good and the guy is good, sometimes you move on. And personally, I think that might be what's going on with Alex Cora. There's still some stuff that I love to see from him. Like uh, in the third game of the series, Sonny Gray, he came off the mound, and as he walks into the dugout, I mean, it's the classic manager shakes the starting pitcher's hand, pats him on the back, says good game. And Sonny Gray said, I got another 0 in me if you can give it to me, if you want me to go back out there. And then Alex
Mm.
did let him go back out there. And like, I love that. That is not, oh, third time through the order, got to get him out of there. No, that's a veteran in Sonny Gray, who's been one of the better pitchers in baseball for the last 10 years. Let him go out there and get another inning. So I think that that's not absent from the way that Alex Cora is managing games, but he has been very much the always have a lefty righty matchup, always have a righty lefty matchup, always throw the platoon out there, always, do the analytically driven thing.
Yeah.
And I think that there's so much value in the way Pat Murphy approaches the game. And it was very interesting to see those two things juxtaposed in front of me for 3 consecutive games.
And I think the Brewers do something that is very unlike other teams. And this, I think, especially with the way the game is played now, we're starting to see a transition to speed and defense and the importance of
Mm-hmm.
that now more than ever. Like if you look at a lineup, I think the conversation has always been, oh, here's this killer in the 3 or the 4 spot that I don't want to face. Now it's become, especially with the Brewers, I don't want that guy on base. That guy gets on base, we're in trouble. If Sal Frelick gets on base, if Bryce Terang gets on base, if David Hamilton gets on base with his killer
Mm-hmm.
speed, you're screwed, right? So
Yes.
they change what you're worried about when you face this team. And I thought that is where the Red Sox were going. Like when we look at the young players that have come up through the Sox system, I thought that's where they were going. However, that has not been the case. And you and I have talked about with the Red Sox, not only about Alex Cora, but you and I have talked about our massive affections for Craig Breslow and what he brings to that organization, which is
My
to
best
us
friend.
a little excuse me. See, I'm choking over my despair of Craig Breslow. But here's the thing with Craig is I mean, he's a Yale guy, right? I mean, he's the
Yep.
numbers guy. He's the nerd we all knew in high school who grew up and was very successful and now wants to do that in a baseball with a baseball team. Albeit we know he was a pitcher in the major leagues, of course, sure. But I start to wonder when you look at what this Red Sox organization has gone through over the last couple of years, even most recently. Like I know you had reservations about that Devers trade last year, but
Mm-hmm.
now, Kyle Harrison, not here. Jordan Hicks, not here. Tibbs
Mm-hmm.
crushing the ball in the Dodgers system. I mean, I don't mean to pile on you, buddy, but Jesus, you got to be feeling so crappy about that move right now, more than ever.
Yeah, man. I mean, when you look at guys like Kyle Harrison, and then especially the biggest one for me is James Tibbs. James Tibbs was traded for 3 terrible starts of
Mm.
Dustin, 4 terrible starts from appearances. Excuse me, they weren't even all starts. Dustin May. Dustin May. Four appearances, all of them horrendous. And James Tibbs
Oy.
goes over, and he's the second coming of Barry Bonds over there in AAA. Tony Maz, who's one of the more prominent and preeminent Red Sox guys who've been around the game for 700 years, and he was on the Baseball Hour last night on 98.5 The Sports Hub, and he said, the Pacific Coast League, all the numbers are inflated. It is a bit warmer out there this time of year. It's going to look. I don't care if you can hit AAA pitching at a 580 clip with 17 billion home
Yeah.
runs like a James Tibbs is. Come on, man. So it was funny because ironically, at this point, the Devers trade looks like they got everything in the world for him. They took on the Jordan Hicks contract, and Kyle Harrison's a dog, and James Tibbs is a beast. The problem is that none of those guys are in the Red Sox organization anymore. And so we have Caleb Durbin to show for it. And Sonny Gray, who admittedly, Sonny Gray he's good stuff. But when it comes down to the fact that it's like, okay, who did we get back from Kyle Harrison? Andrew Monasterio. Okay. I don't know. It's just, I'm not a huge fan. Can I play the Breslow clip that pissed me off the other day, please?
Please do. I would love.
It
Yes,
is
please, people.
so bad, man. It is so bad. Here we go.
So that kind of the idea of deploying our players in a way that maximizes positive outcomes by creating the most favorable matchups that we can is a term that I would call optimization, and I think that's synthesizing analytical information. It's synthesizing the real-time feedback that we would be getting from our players and our coaches who are interacting with each other every single day to ensure that we're doing that and making sure that we're not leaving wins on the table. So,
Craig, that wasn't English, brother. That wasn't English. Was that even baseball? Like that was what do we do? If you say the word synthesizing again, I'm going to shove you in a fucking locker, brother. Like that is ridiculous. That's not how we think about baseball.
Well, in the second quarter, if we have all of our synergies right, we'll really be on the downswing of stop talking.
Yeah.
Seriously?
My God, this isn't an earnings call, dude.
Oh, you know what? This is, and I think that this is the perfect way to kind of tie this all together for the Red Sox. Is I think there is a disconnect between player development, Craig Breslow, I think Alex Cora, and we knew when Breslow came into this organization that Cora had strong feelings about the front office. We know he's most likely going to end up in a front office. There are key differences there, and I guarantee
if he gets his way, absolutely.
Yes. And so I just think this thing is not clicking. We are a couple years into this. We've seen the trades go wrong. We've seen the development be a little wonky. I'm starting to get concerned that these group of guys aren't going to be able to get this on track.
Can I tell you what my ideal outcome for this whole situation is? Let's say the Red Sox continue. Ooh. They play 333 win percentage baseball for the rest of the season, and then the season ends, and it's a terrible disappointment. My ideal scenario is Breslow's out, Cora's in as the president of baseball operations.
That would be.
And then from there, I don't love losing Cora in the dugout, but at least Cora gets the ability to build a roster the way a major league roster is supposed to be constructed. Because at this point, there's 50 outfielders on my team, and like not viable platoon at the second base position. Right now, the Red Sox have a second base platoon that includes Marcelo Meyer, who's good against righties, terrible against lefties. And then Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is the right-handed to the right-handed part of the platoon, and he has reverse splits. So he hits worse against lefties than he does against righties. So like, that's the lineup we built, Craig. That's what we're doing here. It just doesn't make any sense. At the end of the day, I think he doesn't make it out of the season if the Red Sox are this bad the whole time. But I don't know. I'm not cheering for the Red Sox to be bad.
Clearly, but I'll tell you what, if he's out, Parker, at the end of the season, they're not going to have a choice but to put Alex Cora in there because no one's going to take that damn job.
Yeah, it's going to be Alex Cora. It's going to be like Brian O'Halloran, who's been the general manager of the Red Sox for forever. But president of baseball operations was made up and put above general manager, so it just whatever. Which sucks because the Red Sox are really good at making executives. Like we look at guys, there are two different right-hand men that are currently presidents of baseball operations in the Nationals, and for the Nationals and for the Cubs, that would have been great for the Red Sox. And it just didn't work out because of the way that the Red Sox have run their organization, and that stinks. So there was one other manager that I really wanted to hit on, and again, we're talking teams that are currently basement dwellers and have really had bad starts to the season. Dude, have you seen all the crap coming out about Tony Vitello and like the comments he made about the ball boy and just like first of all, I love the way he talks to the media. I think he's very frank and he's very open and he talks. He doesn't give nothing answers as much as many of the other managers in baseball do. And you know what? I think he's going to stop that eventually because eventually there's a reason these managers do that. It's because they don't want their words twisted on them and everything to be a story. But where are you at on Tony Vitello? Because like the comments about the ball boy, man, like. Oh man, I just don't like it.
It's a bad look. Like it's very Bush League. Don't love it. I'm torn because I came into this the Giants obviously took a gamble on this guy, big experiment to see if a college, the NCAA manager can manage in the big leagues, and it's not looking great. It's not looking. It's
No.
not. I didn't say it's a done deal. He's going to be let go in a couple weeks. I'm not saying that, but between the ball boy thing, between some of the stuff he said in these news conferences, albeit he's open and transparent, and that's great. But he has come out and said that there was issues, that there have been minor issues in the clubhouse, and that all in the middle of Matt Chapman telling his first baseman to catch the effing ball, right? So I mean, there's something going on in that clubhouse, and you can't have something happen in a clubhouse and not look at the manager and have some sort of accountability there. So something is off. And I hope it gets fixed quickly, because I think if this continues, the Giants are going nowhere fast. And I think this is a symptom of a larger problem. And I would love to know what that is.
If they win, it all goes away. And
Of
they're
course.
a talented enough team that they could.
Sure.
I don't think anything so far is damning enough to be like Tony Vitello is not canceled, right? Like he's going to be okay. But
it's
one
raised
thing that
eyebrows at minimum.
Yeah, it's like
at minimum.
Okay. You know what it is? It's classic. Like, this is exactly kind of the worst case, or maybe not the worst case scenario, but like kind of the predictable, pretty bad case scenario that is the result of hiring a college baseball head coach to become a manager of a big league ball club.
Sure.
You are on nationally televised TV every single day for 3 hours of game and then a good media session, after the game. Like, that is just a level of cameras in your face that is, I don't care how many SEC teams you were the head coach of, it is not that level of publicity.
So let me ask you another question here, because there's another layer to this I want to make sure we talk about, is the seriousness with which players in that clubhouse, particularly veterans like a Matt Chapman, like a Robbie Ray, are taking to a guy like Tony. Because you remember a couple, I think one series into this season, Tony made a comment about, you know where I'm going. He made a comment about the guys kind of overthinking and being in their head, and Robbie Ray was like, yeah, we're adults, we're big leaguers, we don't need to worry about that. And I it could be a big nothing burger, but I don't think it's entirely nothing. I think this is a group that's still adjusting to Tony, and I could understand from a player's perspective, this guy coming in, used to coaching, 18 to 20-year-olds, and then being like, what the hell are you doing here, right? Like, I don't think that's the most popular held opinion. I don't think that's most of the clubhouse, but I wouldn't believe that none of those guys are thinking that, right? I mean, come on.
Yeah, no, I mean, I bet you there's a little bit of who the hell is this guy? He wasn't even a big leaguer. I mean, we've heard that for other managers in the past that were not big leaguers.
Sure.
It's the whole premise of the movie Little Big League, if I'm being completely honest. But like, we've seen guys go from college to the big leagues, not such a direct route. Pat Murphy, who I just spent time talking, he was a college coach, and then he came up through a big league system and became a big league manager, which is kind of like every coach's dream. There you go. Joe Madden. There you go. Yep. And that's kind of like every coach's dream. My wife asked me the other day, pipe dream, what's your pipe dream retirement job? I was like, I don't know, coach my son through college and then become a big league coach or manager.
There you go.
But like, Tony, I really hope that he succeeds. If not, because I don't even really care about the guy. I really do hope he succeeds for himself. I hope the Giants are good, because I think the Dodgers need competition in that division. I think that division's better when the Giants and Dodgers are both good at the same time. But mostly because I want to see more college coaches. Like the coach for Coastal Carolina last year, I would have loved to see him get an opportunity to at least like maybe bench coach a big league ball club and come up through that way or something like that. I want more of that. That's how the NFL coaching pipeline works. A lot of college basketball coaches can make their way into the NFL, or into the NBA coaching carousel. They change coaches every 6 months, it feels like. But I hope that this becomes more of a thing for baseball, because baseball, the gap between pro ball and college is smaller than it's ever been. The best
Sure.
college players are making they're making their debuts 6 months after they get drafted, right after they get drafted,
Yeah.
less than a year. So I think that there's a lot of value at the college level that maybe just needs to be vetted properly and media trained properly, and can do a lot of really cool things at the big league level. I just don't know if Tony Vitello was the best first guy. I don't know if he was the best Jackie Robinson of coaches being brought up from the college level to the MLB.
Wow, that is quite the analogy. I'll tell you what. Last thing I'll say about it, I look at the profile of that team, and at the end of the day, it's too early to say if it was a bad hire. I did like the hire when it was made. However,
Mm-hmm.
I look at these other teams, right? Like the White Sox. And don't get me wrong, I love Will Venable. That's my dude. No one's taking Will. But like that profile of team where they're all under 25 or 26, they're
Yeah.
all rookies. They're all trying to learn and make their way. Like the Giants just aren't that. They're still a team with this
Yeah.
mismatch of like veterans and young guys. Like I don't know that that's
And
the best
really,
fit for a guy like
really
Tony.
proven veterans. Like Robbie Ray has a Cy
Yes.
Young. Matt Chapman has
Right.
a platinum glove or 2 or 3. Patrick Bailey's maybe the best defensive catcher in baseball. Like these
Yeah.
guys are established big league. Logan Webb, maybe
Oh
the
yeah.
best pitcher in the National League over the last 10 years. Like these guys are a big deal. And to put him, if you found him in the White Sox dugout, he might fit in like perfectly.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so that's a really good point you make. I just don't know if the Giants, it was always going to be somebody like Buster Posey. Like I don't see Chris Getz making this hire, but I do see
No.
like Buster Posey making it. It's a perfect guy for the hire. I just don't know if it's
Yeah.
the right club.
Yeah, absolutely. Last quick hit before we wrap up here. I want to talk about the Tigers because you brought them up. They are the bottom of the barrel of the AL Central. They
Yeah.
have not started all that well. They have a -3 run differential, which isn't terrible. However, they're 4-9, bottom of the division, currently 4 games out. Their offense just does not look very supreme. Riley Green is struggling. Spencer Torkelson is struggling. Uh, is this a mirage? Like, is there reason to be concerned right now?
They are 0-4 against teams that are over 500.
Yeah,
I think that's
yeah,
concerning. You face a team with
yeah.
decent pitching and a decent lineup, and you're 0-4. And like I said, my excuse for the Red Sox being 4-8 was that they were playing teams that were playoff teams. The Tigers, I mean, sorry, let me look back at their schedule just so I'm not talking. Yeah, so we've got games they open against the Diamondbacks, and then we've got the Cardinals and the Twins, and now they're playing the Marlins. They just got swept in
Uh,
4 games by the Twins.
oh, gee, that's bad. That's bad as bad.
Yeah, so like, oh boy.
Well,
I don't know,
Parker,
man.
I mean,
It scares me.
I'm with you. It does scare me, and it scares me. Why it scares me is because I still believe in this offense, and their offense is still not bottom half of the league. They're still top half of the league in all the categories. That's fine. What's scary is this starting pitching staff that we thought was going to be above average, and they're
You did.
26th. 20. Okay, I did. Whatever.
I
Yes,
have
I
been
did.
saying that their starting pitching was thin from day
Okay,
one.
and you're right. You're right. Because guess what, Parker? They're 26th in ERA in the league, 23rd in WHIP, 26th in K per nine with guys like Scooble and Framber and Jack
Yeah.
Flaherty. Like, come
Yeah.
on, man.
Well,
That
yeah. So I
can't
think Scoobel
happen.
and Framber figure it out. I think they're going to be just fine. But the concern was always, I think a lot of people were counting on the ceiling of Justin Verlander, Casey Mize, and Jack Flaherty. I'm never counting on the ceiling from those guys. And I'm not trying to sound like
No,
I'm, some Jimmy Neutron genius or anything over here, but there was concern for the rotation. They do have maybe the best 1-2 punch in the American League. I'll give them that.
sure.
But after that, it was always going to be concerning. So when you don't get lights out from Scooble and from Framber on every single start they make, that's where everything gets concerning.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, Scooble's still at a solid 2.55 ERA. To say that tie for him is just kind of crazy. And
It
then
is.
Framber's at 4.76. So, not great.
Yeah, Framber. I think Framber typically is a ramp up guy. I'm pretty sure he
Let's
gets
hope.
better as the season goes on. One thing I would like to point out was a really good point made on the. Remember, I mean, as well as I do, Justin Havens. He was on this show. Jay Hay. He's on the Baseball is Dead podcast. Well, on that podcast, Jared Carabas made a point. What if Tarek Skubal is front runner for the Cy Young, but the Tigers stink, and he gets traded to a National League team, and he gets robbed of a third straight Cy Young? Because think about the teams that have
That would
the
suck.
prospect capital right now. Like, okay, I'm the Dodgers. I want Tarek Skubal. Yeah, take James Tibbs, this found money that I just found that
Yes,
is over here raking, in AAA. Take him
correct.
and 5 other prospects, and boom, Skubal's a Dodger.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know that you're the Tigers and you found yourself in that situation. You can't not trade him. You can't not
You have
trade him.
to.
Like
You
you
have to
have
trade him. And because you can't do the Trevor Story. Trevor Story,
no.
he was famously not traded by the Rockies, and they just let him go to free agency and got nothing
Yeah.
for him. Did they got a comp pick? Okay. That's not enough to get back for a Tarek Skubal.
Here's my concern with that though is if I'm them, I still try to lock up Scooble, and here's why. Because if you say you have a bad season and you let Scooble walk, those 4 behind him, you ultimately have to rebuild your entire rotation,
Yeah.
and you have a 30 million a year Framber Valdez leading it. Like that is a huge lift for a team that basically has their young core up and ready to rumble. That's hard. That's hard to do.
It's hard to do, but at least you do have a Framber. Like it already felt like they
Sure.
were getting ready for this contingency plan regardless. Like as much
Yeah.
as,
Yeah.
lowballing Skubal and not really caring if they pissed him off in the offseason and signing Framber and all these different things that the Tigers have kind of done, like it really looks like they're getting ready to just wave goodbye.
Yikes. Well, we'll be following it. I know when it comes July, all eyes, just like last trade deadline, are going to be on Tarek Skubal now more than ever. Let us know in the comments which team, Red Sox, Giants, Tigers, are more likely to turn it around early in the season. Let us know in the comments, and thanks for watching here, Rally Cap.